Jordan while he was sitting in for me. Well, listening to that is chair of the WASPy campaign, Angela Madden. Angela, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Georgie. Thank you for asking me along.
No, it's lovely to have you on the show this morning. In a nutshell, can you sort of sum up what has actually happened to the WASPy women?
Yes, there are so many women like Patricia. In fact, the government started changing the state pension laws for women in 1995, which is a long time ago. And we carried along merrily because they didn't communicate it at all to the women involved. Apparently, they changed a few leaflets. There was a few adverts as part of another campaign about stakeholder pensions, but they made no effort really to communicate to the women affected, to tell them that their state pension age was going up at that point to 65. Then a few years went by. They started apparently communicating to women in 2009 about the state pension age going up to 65. But they knew they were going to change it again in 2011. And those same women were impacted by another state pension age that actually put their state pension up to 66. And at that point, they put their state pension age for men up to 66 as well. And it was only at that point, after the 2011 Act, and men had been affected too, that the Department of Work and Pensions started communicating with women and men about their state pension age changes.
Gosh.
Well, I was like Patricia. I was 58 coming up at that time in 2009, and that's when I got a letter in 2012, sorry, and that's when I got a letter about the state pension age going up to 66. And I, like Patricia and many, many other women, were devastated. I, at that time, had already given up a full-time job to spend time with my then ailing mother, because, of course, we're the sandwich generation. We look after our own children, our grandchildren, and our parents. Because, of course, the government are absolutely right. People are living longer, but whether they're living healthy lives is questionable. So, a lot of people need care, and women of my age and Patricia's age actually provide that care free of charge, saving the taxpayer a fortune, instead of automatically using the health service or the social care service, which, as we all know, is not good enough either.
It sounds like, that you've lost about 5 or 6 years of pension. Is that right, financially?
Absolutely, yes. But many of us have lost much more than that.
Yeah.
Because many of us did go to work. We changed our working habits. And, of course, once you know then about a change, you try and get back in the workplace. But we all know there's discrimination there. So it's very, very hard at 50, 58, 59 years old to be attractive to any employer. And so it's very hard to get jobs. I mean, those who were looking for jobs at the time and got employment were only offered 0 hours contracts in either caring or catering, whatever their previous experience was.
Goodness me.
And people with arthritis or, poor sight or, other issues find it difficult to take on those kinds of jobs because, as you know, caring is all about helping feeble people, perhaps with, lifting and helping them move around and, lots of kind of physical work.
Patricia said that they've downsized to a very small bungalow. She's had to change the way that she's living in her retirement. What about you, Angela? What kind of changes have you had to make?
I'm quite fortunate. I have a husband. I do have a private pension. So that's had to, kind of keep me. I didn't have the state pension to supplement that.
Right.
So really, I just had to really tighten my belt, We haven't had to downsize as yet. We're still in the same house we've been in for the last 30 years.
Wow.
The mortgage is paid off. But I must say the running costs in the last year or two
Absolutely.
have been astronomical.
Yeah.
And we found that very difficult. But, we're in the position where we just have to cut back, like Patricia. make an informed decision about the things that we actually buy, the things that we actually pay for.
Yeah.
We still have holidays, which we're very fortunate, but we tend to go on much, much cheaper holidays.
Yeah.
What
stage?
than we would have done.
Yeah. What stage is the inquiry at the moment? Where does it sit?
Well, it's still with the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman. We've actually been complaining about this to the Department of Work and Pensions. We started over 7 years ago with these complaints. And of course, they were just batted back. You have to go through 4 stages of complaint with the Department of Work and Pensions before you get to this office called the Independent Case Examiner. Well, not true to its name, that office is not independent at all. It's paid for by the Department of Work and Pensions, and it does what the Department of Work and Pensions says, which gives it a very narrow remit. So, of course, they rejected our complaints as well.
You see, how hopeful how hopeful are you that this will have a positive outcome with this in mind?
Yeah, well, it's with the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman at the moment, and he is the watchdog. The government is the watchdog to make sure the departments do the right thing. So if the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman does the right thing and makes the right recommendations to the government, we may get some compensation. We will never, ever get anything like the amount of money that was 5 or 6 years' pension. But we may get some compensation for the lack of communication that the government gave us. Because to be fair, if in 1998, as Patricia said, they wrote out to all the women affected, we would have had 15, maybe 20 years' notice of a significant change to our state pension age. But for some reason, they chose not to. Now, that was the government's choice. It's their choice to change the laws. That's why we elect them. But when they do change them, boy, do they have a responsibility to tell women that their later lives are going to be very, very different.
Yeah. How much money do you think
at the time that they were advertising, stakeholder pensions and telling people you've got to plan your retirement? They didn't give us the opportunity to plan because they didn't tell us.
How much money do you think that 5 or 6 years amounts to? Have you added it up, Angela?
Yeah, well, the state pension today, maximum is about £8,000 or £9,000. So 45, £50,000 for people. Of course, to be fair, women, because we never earned as much, we never got to a full state pension, because the women are the carers.
Yeah.
And I mean, before 1978, women who had children gave up work to have children. They did get a benefit called family allowance. Now, there were no state pension credits for family allowance. In 1978, this benefits changed to child support or something like that.
Yeah.
What we get now, child benefit, and that does carry state pension credits, NI credits for mothers. But of course, our generation missed out on a lot of things like that because our generation never had equality.
Angela, thanks so much for coming on the show this morning. I really appreciate your time. Angela Madden there. She's heading up the campaign for the WASPy women, explaining where they are up to in the fight for the better deal, really, for women and who had their state pension age changed at very short notice. And as she said, we were told to plan, but actually the goalposts moved and they couldn't plan.